type.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Gorilla Sports Off Field. I am your host, Liv Moods, joined by Nate Jackson and BK. BK is back from Seattle, here to hang out. And before we jump into, if you guys missed it, we had a post-game live show, post-game Broncos show yesterday, where we kind of broke down some things. We're going to go a little bit more into detail today, talk a little bit of Monday Night Football, but want to start off actually with some CU Buffs conversations. The Buffs lost to the Nebraska Huskers 10-28. Shedeur Sanders, 23 of 38, 244 total yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, actually. And we actually do have a clip, I think, available for us in regards to Shedeur Sanders talking. We don't have it? Nope, we don't have it. Never mind. Moving on. Shedeur talked a little bit about, he made, I think, a comment that got posted to social media about how many times did the Nebraska quarterback get touched. I think he was referring to his O-line maybe not being as solid as he wanted it to. Is there...
Or the pass rush being way better for Nebraska. Either way.
Yeah.
It's insulting to some big guys up front, if not all of them.
My question is, in regards to that, because I do think that there's maybe some maturing that Shedeur is going to have to do before he plays on the next level. Is there a lack of accountability, do you feel like, with Shedeur Sanders ever?
Well, and you look at Bo Nix yesterday, didn't play great. It's funny perspective, I guess, is yes, because Sean Payton is still adamant that his teammates let him down. But the most negative Bo Nix got in his own 6-minute press conference was, there's things we can do better. We left a lot of points out there on the field, talking about things he wanted to have back. But never once did he say the stuff Sean Payton has said, both yesterday, post-game with Dave Logan on KOA, in the press conference with us again today. He's like, look, we watched the film and there were some protection breakdowns. They didn't help him out at all catching the ball. We have to run the ball better. I have to call a game better.
Who said that?
Sean Payton said that. Okay. Bo didn't say any of that.
Yeah.
And that's what we said a couple weeks ago when Bo got named starter, that we're never going to hear him blame anyone, even when the receiver runs the wrong route or bobbles like the Samaje Perine interception for Stidham. Bo Nix is still going to, a play like that, he's always going to put it on him.
So do you think Shedeur Sanders should do more of that?
100%. Well, any of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
At this point.
Never, ever throw your guys under the bus.
And I think that's kind of what he did in like a little jokey ha-ha way.
Yeah. And there's no times for jokey ha-has at that time either.
He lost. Nothing funny.
It's funnier for what Deion said, right? Where he's like, oh, Shedeur wanted to start the showers for his teammates. Like, Deion's putting a little bit of levity into a tough situation.
Right.
This is different, though.
Right. And, they went into Nebraska. They got their ass kicked. They got embarrassed against a rival. And then Shedeur Sanders kind of separated himself from his teammates by saying, look at the other guy. He had a clean pocket. Did I? No, I didn't. How am I supposed to operate in a pocket like that? And like BK said, you're not only throwing your own offensive line under the bus, but also your D-line for not putting pressure on Dylan. Mm-hmm. So someone needs to get with him about this stuff, because if he Tom Brady's a hero of his. He trains with the GOATs, and he should watch what they do off the field as well and how they handle these tough moments. You never throw your guys under the bus. It's always, we're going to get better. We got some things to clean up. We're in this together. As one of us goes, we all go. And it wasn't good enough today.
My next follow-up question was, how attractive is Shedeur to NFL coaches? And I guess maybe the extension of that question could be, is he good enough for coaches to overlook a lack of maturity or a lack of leadership if they feel that he does lack those things? Like, is he good enough where it's like, okay, we can skip past that other part. He's a great quarterback. We want him. Do you think he's going to be a quarterback that's like hot on the market that teams are super excited to get? Or do these moments kind of make him unattractive?
I think the jury's still out on Shedeur as far as what he can do at the highest level. I think that if he started the season here, he's now here. The first 2 games of the season have not made his stock rise. They've made it fall. Yep. He needs to improve, not only on the field but off, and all eyes are on him. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had a decent game against North Dakota State. Okay, so what else? What are you going to do as the season unfolds? And a couple days ago wasn't good enough. So I think NFL execs, GMs, who, if you do draft a guy in the top 5, which people are saying, then you do a lot of research, you put a lot of thought into it, and you want to make sure he's the right guy. So I think the jury's still out on Shedeur.
You are really good friends with Jake Plummer, and he was a guy that his teammates just loved being around, right?
Yeah.
You played with Jay Cutler, very talented, but certainly prickly to teammates and non-teammates alike, right? That's just Jay's personality. But Big Al, who I talk to almost every day, always loves telling stories about John Elway. Fridays they were riding motorcycles. Didn't matter offense, defense, special teams. Maybe they shouldn't have all been riding motorcycles, but they go on Friday. Like John Elway's one of those guys that it's like, it's inclusive. We're not there every day, but at least from a distance, Shedeur doesn't feel like someone who's inclusive. It's the handful, Travis is in it. Maybe Jimmy Horn Jr. is rolling wherever they're going, and they're literally jet setting around the world. And like, he's not bringing 20 guys with him. Whereas a lot of college quarterbacks in that situation, if they had access to private aviation and a fun weekend, are probably bringing 10 or 15 or 20 guys, and we're seeing it to some degree. And I just don't know if,
and you're also, and if you're also that quarterback's getting paid $4 million a year, which is what Shedeur's making. So he's rich. He's richer than everybody on the team. He gets more of everything than they do. But you're right. He's got to come down to their level and be one of the guys. Like, after a tough series, he's got to be on the sideline talking to his offensive lineman, like, let's go, guys. I believe in you guys. Let's go. We got it. We got this. Is he doing that? Or is he, just sitting down on the bench and just kind of like, man, fuck that. Like,
what I think will be fascinating to see, and it's hard to tell. We just don't know what Deion's future is going to hold. Shiloh now has what we think is a broken forearm. I don't know if that's been officially confirmed, but that's what Deion said at halftime. And so I don't know what Shiloh's NFL prospects are, even practice squad. And maybe Shedeur wants him on his practice squad, and if they like him enough. But every GM or coach is going to have a chance to draft him, we'll call it in the top 20. And I guess everybody, if they want to trade it, whatever, are going to get to spend a lot of time with him. And in a scenario where Deion either stays in coaches or just goes in as Deion and shows up on game day, because he isn't going to be there on Wednesdays and Thursdays of a game week or Tuesdays with him. If they can take Shedeur away from his dad, away from his brother, away from the circus that is everything that comes with Coach Prime, and that Deion will tell you about, like, my kids follow me, I don't follow them. Fine. Do they think if they get him in the building, like if he's in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin, and I realize they're going to win too many games, but whatever, a coach like that, even a Sean Payton, Andy Reid, I'm naming guys that don't need quarterbacks, but regardless, if the Tennessee Titans end up drafting him, or Arizona, and whoever their coach might be, and Deion's not going to be there all the time, and the brothers aren't, can he be the leader on the field and the off the field stuff? Because this falls into the off the field stuff. The on the field talent, I think, is there. But
I mean, that's a really good point, because maybe he would be better away from his dad and the circus that comes with it. I mean, imagine if Deion Sanders, prime time, best in the world ever, was your dad, and you had to like live up to that and be that guy. Maybe that's not who he really is. I don't know, but it could be a breath of fresh air for him to get away, start as a rookie, have to carry people's pads, have some guys to look up to who could tell him, who could kind of wean him off of that sort of philosophy. But he does have to clean that stuff up. So if I'm a GM, I mean, physically speaking, he's got a lot of talent, but he's also in 4 wides all the time, just stepping back there and slinging it. And that's not really a pro style offense either. So I think they have a lot to learn about Shedeur.
I didn't watch every down of that game, but I was watching enough to see as I'm on the airplane. They have to get a first down, and it's 3rd and 4, whatever it is, or 4th. And Pat Shurmur just can't help himself, and he's in 3 or 4 wide in shotgun, inside handoff. And who saw that coming? Not just me sitting on a plane flying to Seattle, the Nebraska defense, and they tackle the back, at the line of scrimmage or even behind. And it's like, well, what are we doing here? You've got this great quarterback, certainly talented. You've got some talented playmakers. Let him just be an athlete and get past the sticks, because they all knew, you want to run into the teeth of this defense? Great. So that's not helping anyone's cause. That's just kind of a little side observation.
Okay. So the Buffs taken out. Potentially they bounce back next week, but we shall see.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the toughest ticket in the country this past weekend, college or pro, in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh.
There's way less seats here, but as of a few weeks ago, it was over $200 to get in on the aftermarket. I mean, it's only 35,000 to maybe 40,000 if they expand it out with all the standing room. So you're gonna have at most 40,000 people. The CSU did a smart thing, because KU used to always do this.
Yeah.
They make you buy the whole season if you wanted to buy season tickets. So Buffs fans, you have to buy all 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
Kansas would do that so that Nebraska, because the whole state of Nebraska would come down to Lawrence to have an easier chance to see him. But they'd have to buy every game. So CSU sold a bunch of tickets, but it'll be just fascinating to see how they bounce back and how CSU plays.
Yep.
Regardless of the on the field stuff, Coach Prime has made a lot of people a lot of money around these parts,
Yes, he
including CSU.
Yeah.
Including the sunglasses that he wears.
Yeah.
They're like flying off the shelves.
Yeah.
So.
So, what else is he at? Subway? Does he do Subway?
Yeah.
I think he
What
is in a
else?
couple
Oh, Kentucky
Subway
Fried Chicken or
commercials.
something. What is it?
Yeah.
It was KFC
It is
last year.
KFC,
I don't know if
yeah.
they're still doing it this year. He obviously has the Affleck. He and Coach Saban do Affleck.
He's got one with his son, with Shador.
Yeah. Well, they do the KFC.
That's
and
the
then
KFC one.
they also didn't he do like almonds or avocados?
almonds,
Is it
yeah.
almonds? Almonds.
The almonds.
Amazing. Okay, well, let's do a quick little NFL Week 1 recap. Obviously, a lot of crazy things happening. We had a primetime game last night that went into overtime. Pretty high-power offenses going back and forth. That was a fun watch. We had our Broncos, which we've already talked about, but we're going to get into that in just a little bit. I came up with a top 5 list, most disappointing debuts, one of which we were just talking about, and this is in order. I'm going to go 1 through 5. At 1, we've got the Bengals.
Joe
At
Burrow
2,
is just a beast, isn't he?
At
Every
2,
GM
we
wants
have the
him on the-
Panthers, and that's a little personal for me because I bet on them, and it was 37
those are
point L.
Those one of the 2 I got right against the spread.
Pretty
and,
bad.
at 5 in Portland.
Broncos at 3, Giants at 4, and believe it or not, despite getting a W, I did feel like the Dolphins kind of had a disappointing debut
Really?
to me. I think they've got a lot of offensive firepower. Didn't feel like there was as much chemistry as I'm used to. Could it have something to do with the fact that Tyreek Hill was laying horizontal on the ground in
Crazy.
handcuffs moments before? Maybe. But that's my list. Bengals at 1. This is for most disappointing debuts. Bengals at 1, Panthers at 2, Broncos at 3, Giants at 4, and Dolphins at 5. Thoughts?
I like your Bengals pick. The Bengals are supposed to be better than that.
That was crazy.
Even without T. Higgins, Jamar Chase kind of played.
Yeah. Well, Joe Burrow is as good as he is supposed to be able to get the best out of anyone out there.
I
right?
will
Agreed.
say
Agreed.
from a like a betting perspective, the research that I have done in the many seasons I've talked about week 1, the Bengals habitually start very slow.
Mhm.
Like when it comes to covering the spread or betting on the money line and having, getting upset basically in the first few weeks of play, the Bengals are not as reliable as they will be by probably week 4.
And we got to be careful saying any NFL team sucks. Like
Well,
the Patriots suck, right?
But they won.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So these are the best football players on the planet. It's like, getting like a group of the 32 most beautiful people in the world and then saying, you're ugly. No, you're not. You're one of the most, is that a good metaphor?
Kinda.
You're
So-
also hot. I think that person might be hotter, but
right.
you're
right.
still hot too. You're super hot.
You're hot. You're not ugly, right? And so the Patriots aren't ugly, and they clearly came out with a chip on their shoulder, and chosen by Vegas to be the worst team in the league, expected by everyone to suck on with first-year head coach
Gerard Mayo.
Gerard Mayo. So
Trade
obviously-
Matthew Judon, their best defensive player.
So clearly they were up for the challenge, and like you said, the Bengals start off slow, and the Patriots had something to prove, and what you get is an upset there. But so I agree with that first assessment.
Yeah, I had the Bengals in a couple of my survivor pools. Got bounced in those. One, for some reason, you get double elimination, so I now have no margin for error there. And then I had the Bills. I was sweating out the Bills.
Yeah,
if
that
Kyler
was-
Murray looks up, Marvin Harrison is still open on the right sideline there.
Really,
That
I didn't
was-
see that.
Well, do you remember the Xavier Worthy touchdown from Thursday?
Yeah.
Exact same thing.
Oh, really?
Marvin Harrison just like corner bites, safety never comes, and Kyler just never saw him.
Mm.
He could have thrown it left-handed and it would have gotten there, underhanded. I mean, that's how open he was. But so the Bills would have been on that list for sure had they not snuck out that
I
win.
agree.
And
They were
said
close. They were
Josh
close to
Allen's
making my list.
hand, he's able to practice today. They're not really practicing, but he's that way he can play Thursday because they're on Thursday Night Football. I think against the Dolphins.
But it shows you week 1, you're already getting banged up. It's a brutal game.
It is
Like,
it is a brutal game.
Preseason doesn't simulate it. The practices don't simulate it, and all of a sudden you get thrown into the fire. You're trying to make plays to help your team win, and you do things like that get hurt. Like Jordan Love got hurt at the end of a game. Aaron Rodgers taking the field tonight against the 49ers.
Who knows?
What's he going
knows?
to try to do out there? So it's a much different prospect going out there in a game situation. And one thing I think we can take from the Broncos game is that we didn't really have any injuries.
I was thinking about that too. And Garrett Bowles, I got the one ask about injuries on a Monday exception from Sean Payton today on the conference call.
Okay.
Because there's however many of us are on there, 20 of us, 50 of us, whatever. But 10 to 15 people get to ask a question. They say, please keep it to one question. And so every now and then you try to sneak in a double. I go, this isn't my question, but can you give us a Garrett Bowles update real quick? And so he goes, all right, you know that on Mondays I don't want to do this. If we'll all agree that this is the one time this year, we're going to do it. All the imaging's fine. It came back. All the tests are negative, so we feel pretty good about it. But that's the only time we're going to do this all year. Now, I know that's true, and I can't speak for everyone else. I'll take a couple of weeks off of asking because I feel like that was just happened to be directed at me because I asked it. But Garrett Bowles was the lone kind of concern. And last year they were the healthiest team. So you almost don't want to jinx it. Not that sports really works like that. But they were remarkably healthy in the preseason. And then they get through game one, certainly healthier than other teams for sure.
Very healthy last year as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Does Sean know your name? Does he go, BK? Like
he don't ever. The only person whose name he said Troy's name, and everyone, but that's because Troy kind of screwed it up. I assume he does, but I've also known him longer than when he got here to town through some mutual friends. So,
you guys are homies.
I wouldn't say that.
Do you have his number?
I wouldn't say that. I do have his number, and
you have his phone number,
and he
will
text me back.
Can you call? Can
you text him right now?
I can, but I'm not going to because we're in the middle of the show.
We'll
that doesn't stop you from. This man acts like he's not on his phone during the show.
That's just looking up information. I'm not having conversations over here. My sister just called. I'm not talking to her. We're in the middle of the show.
You can answer if your sister calls. It could be an emergency.
She'll call back if it's an emergency. I imagine she's walking around somewhere in New York and just bored.
Does she like to hear the sound of BK's voice when she's just killing time?
I think she kind of checks in. Like it's yeah.
Sweet.
Are you the oldest?
There's only two of us, so yeah. Yes.
Would you say you're a good big brother?
Sometimes.
What about the times you're not?
Yeah, what do you do?
Well, I missed her 40th birthday to go to a concert, but my mom told me not to come. It was a Windy City Smokehouse. It was a weekend barbecue and country music festival that my friend throws.
That's not a good reason.
So you said F your 40th birthday.
It was kind of
your friend's thing was more important than your sister's thing?
It was kind of in the middle of COVID still. It was like towards the end of it, before Omicron had even spiked up.
Omicron.
But
I was one of the first to get
She
Omicron.
lives in Jersey, and my mom's like, she's just having lunch with her friends. It's not that big a deal. So we don't come, and it's like, well, why didn't you come? And I was like, Mom said not to worry about it. So
mom's to blame.
100%.
So now you're blaming your mother.
Well, don't worry. We then came in December, which is the best time to be in New York anyway, and went to the most amazing dinner ever.
Why is December the best time to be in New York?
Was it like $1,000 a person or something? That's great. Because it's all lit up for Christmas. It's not super cold
Christmas,
yet. Yeah. All of it. And there's pre-lit menorahs, or depending on the time of year, there might be a menorah too. Yeah. And some Kwanzaa decorations. I feel like we're digressing. We haven't got to the third team on our list.
My bad.
But yes, I do have Sean Payton's phone number.
Cool. Well, as the show progresses, maybe we'll call him sometime.
Yeah, maybe.
So my follow-up questions to my top 5 most disappointing debuts was, we're just going to go, no explanation, just give me a team, and then give me a quarterback, and then give me the third answer. No explanation. Which team was a pleasant surprise in week 1? You're first.
Team, Cowboys.
I would say the Chargers. I mean, even though I didn't want them to be, I would say that the Chargers getting off to a winning start.
The Raiders, did you watch any of that game?
I didn't.
So we had Red Zone on so you're getting to see bits and pieces, and the Raiders were right there. I mean, the Raiders had a lead.
Yeah.
And then just the Chargers kind of wore them down. And you're like, this might be a long year for the Raiders because they're just lacking at the quarterback position, even though they're good in some other spots.
Gardner Minshew just wasn't cutting it. Huh?
Wasn't cutting it.
Yeah. There's a reason he's been on 6 teams now.
That leads me to my next question. Which quarterback showed the most promise in week 1? We'll start with you, Nate.
The most promise in week 1.
Obviously, these are very early overreactions because there's so much football
Do you want
left.
10 more seconds to think about it? Because I got a quick answer.
You go first.
Baker Mayfield.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of those where I'm like, God, why don't I have him on more fantasy teams? And then I'll go 1B. I was going to steal it.
Good answer.
Sam Darnold also.
Oh, yeah.
Give him a really good offensive coach. Now, he did have Kyle Shanahan, but Kyle didn't really ask him to ever play. Yeah. But give him Kevin O'Connell with Justin Jefferson and Addison and a terrible Giants team. It's kind
really
of the right.
Yeah,
the
Daniel
right
Jones has more pick sixes than touchdowns passes since he signed his new deal. Did you know that?
Love that for him.
But I'm going to choose the quarterback that I think I was impressed with, Derek Carr of the Saints. Coming in, throwing 3 touchdowns. Didn't light it up as far as yards, but they brought him there to do exactly what he did yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was hurt last year, kind of very disappointing year for him and for them. So to go out, get off to a 47-point start feels pretty good. So I'd say Derek Carr.
How much of what the Falcons did was because of the Steelers? Because you could obviously say Kirk Cousins only mustering 15 points as a team. I don't even know how many touchdowns. I didn't even look at his stats because
Really
I'm
good
on a
defense,
fantasy
though,
team.
right? So,
No question. No question.
And the
We're gonna
Broncos
see.
running into that buzzsaw
Yeah.
on Sunday.
Should be interesting. Okay,
Yep.
final one. We're going to do this every week. So just prepare yourselves because our answers will change a lot over the course of 18 weeks. If you had to pick one right now based on what we've seen so far in week 1, who's winning the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl.
Mhm.
It's going to be Saints and Chiefs
You're full of it.
Saints and Chiefs.
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I
Week
got
1.
you.
Who's winning the Super Bowl based on week 1 play?
Based on week 1, it's the Saints.
Oh, based on week 1, I'm going Chiefs against the Ravens team that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Although we didn't talk about. Did we talk about this on Friday? Isaiah Likely and his flawed logic,
What did
where he
he say?
said, posting me was, if that's the best they got, we're going to get a lot better. And if that's the best they got, we can't wait to see them in the playoffs. And I was like, that logic doesn't make sense because if you're allowed to get better and play better,
Yeah,
the
can probably
Chiefs
get better
also
too.
can play better too.
Yeah,
So they're not this. They didn't peak in week 1,
No.
and you're going to get so much better by the play.
I mean,
did
look
he-
at their last year's week
Yeah,
1, and
that's-
then they turned around and won the damn
Right,
Super Bowl.
right.
Did he
Yeah.
like tweet that out or something?
He said it. He said it on
Okay.
camera.
I mean, that's like the
It's
loser's
fine.
lament.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
get it,
Like
I
he's
get
like
it, but,
motivating himself. And
yes,
like,
sure.
we can play better. We can get these guys next time.
Your Saints pick notwithstanding, I will not be surprised one bit, and health will have a lot to do with it. And I don't even know if we've seen updates on Puka Nakua. But that Sunday
What
night
happened to
game,
him?
It was knee?
yeah, it was
It
his knee and gets carted off. And you hope, because we've seen now a couple that have been MCL, related. So Jordan Love isn't lost for the season. Somebody else MCL, not lost for the season.
Still, I popped my MCL, and it was like, a good 4 weeks until I got cleared. And even then, I wasn't right for another 3 or 4.
Right, but you'd rather be 8 weeks
Yeah,
in
yeah.
week 1 versus, hey, we'll see you next
Yeah, but
July.
if you lose your quarterback for 8 weeks,
Quarterback's different. Yeah, I'm thinking more Puka Nakua.
yeah.
But I would not be surprised one bit if
NFC
we see
Championship game?
Rams and Lions in the NFC Championship game. I'm not saying the Rams are the best.
what are you saying is going to happen to the San Francisco 49ers?
Stuff just may catch up with them. Well, and they've also had this weird ebb and flow where, because of injuries and Nick, bumps.
The Niners,
bruises,
or
the Niners, they've gone to the Super Bowl, they barely made the or whatever. It hasn't been NFC title game like those Eagles teams for 5 straight years or whatever.
And things are a little different for him right now. I mean, Trent Williams missed all of camp. Christian McCaffrey missed a lot of camp. He's apparently going to play, but he's got a calf Achilles thing.
Yeah.
Ricky Pearsall got shot in the chest. There's some
So
sort
crazy.
of
And then just the
energetic
normal
changes happening there that I hope they can overcome. So
And we'll see where Brock Purdy is now in year 3. There's no reason to think he's going to have a drop off, but he might.
he's pretty steady. He's steady.
He has been steady.
Yeah.
Ayuk got paid.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, he missed all of camp too.
He missed all of camp.
Yeah.
Debo is always good, and then he gets banged up at times.
Yeah.
So you hope he stays healthy.
Yeah.
It was funny because
and what's his face? The Greenlaw is not even back
Yeah.
yet, right? So he was like the heart, the energetic heart of that offense or defensive
Defensive
line,
line, yeah, for
crushing
sure.
people. So
Mhm.
he tore his Achilles. Remember in the Super Bowl, coming off the sideline.
right.
Pop.
Okay, we are going to do a new segment right here on our Monday shows that you guys can expect because we have our post-game lives that will happen after Broncos game. So obviously we'll have one on a Thursday, one on a Monday. But for the most part, they'll be on Sundays.
Unless they get flexed to Monday a bunch more late, but
There you
Yeah.
go.
We haven't really seen that
But for the
happen yet.
most part, they will be on Sundays. And we are going to do a segment called The Game Changer, where Nate is going to take the mic. BK and I will just sit back and listen. And he's going to take the mic and pick a play from the Broncos game that he feels was a game changer, whether it was from a momentum perspective or from a Bo Nix perspective or play calling or defense or offense, whatever. He is going to pick a play. He's going to break it down. And today we've got some graphics to help you better understand what he's talking about because he is going to talk X's and O's. He's a former pro player. It's going to be great to hear his insight. So we're going to take a look at Bo's first interception
That's right.
against the Seattle Seahawks. And Nate, take it away.
That's right. We're going to look at Bo's first interception against the Seahawks. It was 11:33 left in the second quarter. The Broncos had an opportunity to go up and score a touchdown. It was 3rd and 9 on the 25-yard line going in, and Bo Nix threw what looked like a really bad interception. And yes, it was a bad decision, but there's context to all of this stuff, and we're going to take a look at it right now. So, Jesse, could you throw that first still up there? Okay, so what you see there is the circle player. That's Cortland Sutton, number 14. He's a slot receiver, and he's about to run a corner route. That safety that is circled there in blue is going to be covering that corner route. And look, I mean, the receiver beyond Cortland is going to hold him hold that corner with a shorter route, and so that corner could come open. Bo sees that pre-snap, and so he takes the snap shotgun. He's looking beyond the line of scrimmage, but that other defensive lineman who's circled right there, keep your eyes on him in the next still, because he's going to beat our boy Quinn Miners, who just signed a big contract. You see Quinn Miners falling on the ground there, and number 99 kind of stumbling a little bit as he passes him up. And then you see Cortland kind of clearing the second level, about to run his corner route. Bo Nix has a clean pocket as of now, but that's about to change. Hit me with the next one. Boom. So now you see Bo Nix being affected by that pressure right there. Okay.
It's so Leonard Williams, right?
What's that?
I think it's Leonard Williams, 99.
Yeah, number 99, Leonard Williams, putting pressure on Bo Nix. So typically you'd want to be able to step up into this throw. You wouldn't want your feet kind of parallel like that. You'd want to be able to step up and look at him opening up his hips and opening up his chest there and kind of leaning back. As a quarterback, you want to be able to step into a throw like that. You don't see Cortland in the frame there. He's already beyond there running his corner route. But what I want you guys to keep in mind as you see these next couple frames is when you run a corner route like that, your quarterback can flatten you towards the sideline and based on the coverage. So if you have a safety over the top of you and there's nothing towards the sideline, the quarterback might not put a lot of loft on that ball. What he'll do is throw it more on a line towards the sideline, and you, as a receiver, have to be ready to adjust to whatever throw you get. There is no such thing as a perfect throw. I know people think quarterbacks throw perfect throws all the time. They don't. It's a perfect adjustment is what it is. Every single ball that's caught is adjusted to by the receiver in some way or another. If I'm sprinting down the field and I don't have to stop sprinting, I'm still adjusting because I don't stop sprinting. The ball coming to me is something I always have to adjust to. So the receiver, Cortland Sutton, has to be ready to adjust to whatever ball he gets. Now, he doesn't see the pressure coming. That's not on Cortland to see that guy coming to put pressure on Bo Nix. But when he sees the ball in the air, it's his responsibility to break on it as quickly as possible. Next frame, please, Jesse. Okay, now we got a close-up of Bo, sensing that pressure, feeling it. Look, that guy's a yard away from him as that ball is leaving his hand, and there's really no way for him to step up into that. As you can see, he's starting to go low. These quarterbacks are afraid of getting their ACL torn by a guy landing on them. So Bo stood in that pocket as well as he could in that situation. Now, not the ideal throw. You don't want to throw that off your back foot like that because in the NFL, these guys close on it very quickly. But I don't hate the idea of throwing this corner route to Cortland Sutton because the coverage would dictate that if you throw a good ball, you get a good adjustment, you could catch that. It was just a poorly thrown ball under pressure. All right, next one, Jesse. All right, here, as you can see, Cortland Sutton has position on that safety, and they're both tracking the ball at the same time. The ball has left Bo Nix's hand. It's in the air. Cortland Sutton sees it. That safety also sees it. As of right now, Cortland Sutton has body position on that safety to body him out. Now, your job as a receiver, when that ball's in the air, you have to attack that thing. And if a DB has a beat on it, you do whatever the fuck you can to make sure he doesn't catch that ball. You grab him, you pull him, you bite him, you grab his nuts, you poke him in the eyeballs, whatever the hell you got to do. It can be a penalty. That's fine, but don't let him pick that ball off. Okay, next frame, Jesse. And as you can see, Cortland Sutton allowed this guy to undercut him and intercept that ball right on the sideline. Okay, so there's context to every interception. Yes, it was a bad throw by Bo Nix. He shouldn't have thrown that. But he got pressure from Quinn Miners, so Quinn Miners, is going to be kicking himself for that. He just signed a huge contract. He's a very good player, core player for this team, but he let that guy beat him. That guy puts pressure on Bo. Bo makes the wrong decision, throws off his back foot, gives his receiver a chance. This is his number one receiver, and he hopes that Cortland makes a play for him. Cortland was not able to make a play for him, and that happened all day long. And so when you say Bo Nix had a bad day, there's context behind all of it.
Of course.
He's not going to like that throw, but there's ways to mitigate that, and everyone is involved. And so when we talked about Shedeur Sanders before, throwing his teammates under the bus, no, everything we do has a ripple effect. We're all in this together. We got to get this train moving in the right direction. Bo's going to learn from that. Quinn's going to learn from that. Cortland's going to learn from that, and they'll clean it up going into week 2.
Clap.
No, BK's like,
I thought it was a good breakdown.
That was a wonderful breakdown,
okay.
and this is going to be a wonderful segment. I love that. We're doing X's and O's and allowing the football nerds to get a taste of. Again, I think that sometimes, full transparency, there's a lot of sports shows out there, whether they be in Denver or elsewhere, that it's just the analysis behind it is just fandom. And sometimes you got to hold your team's feet to the fire and say, listen, I am a fan. I've been a fan since birth, but I can also hold my team accountable and say, here's where they went wrong. So you're not just going to get fandom on this show. You'll get some of it, absolutely, but you're also going to get the breakdowns, the X's and O's. and BK, who just does a little bit of all of it. But it's going to be great. So I'm excited about that. Moving forward, every Monday you can expect a game changer play by Nate Jackson, picked by him. He'll then text me. We'll figure out how to make it work so you guys can see it. Shout out to Jesse for helping us at the last second get those graphics pulled together. We'll find cool and creative ways to make that segment even better every time. But I loved it. I thought it was great, and it was a good breakdown of a moment that I think is really easy to blame Bo for, but clearly there was way more to that.
Yeah.
Any notes on what we just listened to?
Well, so I want to see how Bo Nix, I guess we all do, how he responds in the coming weeks. It's not going to get easier with the Steelers. And actually, when I did ask my question to Sean Payton after cheating with the Garrett Bowles question, I asked about the test you're going to get. I said, look, it's just coaches are coaches, and you're going to play good defense every week, but you're getting 4 guys who made their bones on the defensive side of the ball. With McDonald yesterday, what he did with the Ravens. Obviously, Mike Tomlin. Then you get Todd Bowles and a top 10 defense in Tampa, and then of course Robert Saleh with the Jets. So Bo will be tested, as will Sean, and the entire offense. And Sean's like, look, I think coaches first need to be good coaches and leader of men and all that other stuff. He goes, but yeah. And he goes, and Mike T I've known forever, and they're just a really, really good defense. But I didn't get to ask Bo this yesterday. I'm probably going to ask it on Wednesday just because we were short on time, and they kind of speed things up in postgame, especially after a loss. But he's never had more than 7 interceptions in a season, despite throwing plenty of passes, over 370 attempts, 350, 320, 400, 400, 470, and only 3 interceptions. He just doesn't throw a lot of picks. So he has 2 in his first game. He's on pace to shatter Peyton's record to have 34. But how will he respond? Like, how does he handle interceptions? Because they don't happen very often. He gets 2 in his first game, and he's going to be tested kind of week after week. You talk about being thrown into the fire. This is going to be Bo Nix on display again. Can we see whether it's incremental or significant progress? Because every quarterback's different, and I guess every player is different when you make a mistake. Do you let it eat at you all day, or do you kind of file it away, or do you just flush it and forget it?
Yeah, I think both of those picks they're both to opposite sides of the field, but they were similar in that he short arm to throw and guys undercut it. He kind of like didn't realize how well they would close on those balls, and then his receivers didn't do him any favors by closing on it as effectively as the defensive players did. And so those are mistakes you learn from when you get to the NFL and you realize. And again, he hasn't played against the first team defense yet. He hasn't played in the regular season yet when guys are moving faster and they're better and they're sharper. And so his technique will follow those sorts of mistakes where he'll realize I can't off my back foot just sidearm it into coverage like that. It's not going to work. It might have worked in college. I might have been able to get away with it. Even in preseason, I might have been able to get away with it. In practice, got away with it. But here, I can't get away with it anymore. And so I think he's the type of person, we were talking about this yesterday, Liv, that is resilient and has been through adversity and wants to learn every time. And so he's going to take those mistakes, learn from them. Nobody thought it was going to come out and just light it up in week 1. That was a difficult task to go into Seattle. Caleb Williams didn't have a great game. He was at home against maybe a lesser team than
you think than certainly Seahawks. Personnel wise.
Jaden Daniels didn't have a great
ran
game.
The ball great.
Ran the ball, but that's not the ticket. That's
No.
not the ticket to longevity. They don't want him doing that every day. And so I think this is kind of par for the course for a young quarterback. And so like we talked about, his teammates have to make plays for him. The playmakers have to make plays. They have to make special catches. They can't drop the ball. They got to break some tackles. And there was there one broken tackle in the game?
Javonte early, like
the first carry, that 9-yard game.
Yeah, and then maybe the second carry that he had of the second, or like in the second quarter, he had one where because they were going the other way, and he like broke a tackle for an extra yard. They got him 4 yards instead of 3.
Yeah,
that was about it.
And like when I was choosing the game-changing sort of play, I mean, there's a lot of plays within the game that could be.
Sure.
There was the 3rd and 4 where a little Jordan Humphrey just hit him in the hands, and that was a drive that could have kept going. And Broncos had an opportunity to go up, and they got some great field position from their defense and their special teams unit, and just were not able to capitalize on that. And that's the kind of stuff that'll get you in the end of the game, because momentum does switch, and they are going to figure it out, and they're going to stop making all those mistakes. You better put some points on the board early, so you can have a little cushion when they do figure you out in the second half and stop shooting themselves in the foot, which they did.
We didn't spend really any time on the defense today.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you guys were able to break it down last night post game, but you play 3 out of 4 quarters really well. And even that third quarter, they obviously ran the ball extremely effectively, and Kenneth Walker got going, finds the end zone. But Geno Smith, he didn't have to throw the ball all over the yard to win the game, but he certainly didn't. And when he was in passing situations, the Broncos made it tough. Even the ones he completed for the most part, save for that open touchdown, I guess was that Charbonnet or whatever on the wheel.
Yeah.
But that was a busted coverage on that too. DK Metcalf held in check, right? Just 3 catches from PS2. And so you see why you pay a guy $24 million, because that's what he does against a receiver that makes $25 to $30 million. Lockett makes a phenomenal catch with Riley Moss getting his hand on the ball in that final third down to basically seal the game. But the defense with the safeties, and I understand field position helps you there. The takeaway with Alex Singleton, just the pressure. Jonathan Cooper, just solid. Do you think they end up paying him at some point during the year? We had this conversation post game, like paying Cooper, because Cooper and Browning are both up essentially, like Quinn Meinerz was and Javonte. But you know what you have in Cooper. He doesn't miss games. He's solid. Sean said that he's a good combination of power and speed, but just a lot of power. He said that wears on a tight end or a tackle because he just is nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll visit it. He, was a 7th round?
7th rounder.
Had a heart condition, had heart surgery, like in the lead up to the draft, and a heart and soul kind of player in your locker room. And part of that wave of pass rushers, they want to be there for a while, So I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. He's been very productive. Did he have 2 sacks yesterday?
2 sacks. Yeah. Both in the first half. The safeties came in the first half. Yeah. The interception came in the first half. In the fourth quarter after those 2 scores, third, and I think the second touchdown actually came early into the fourth quarter. It was like 14 and a half minutes left in the game.
This is a young team. And they're building, I know we talked about this yesterday. You're like, Are we there yet? Are we there yet? I'm sick of waiting. But
I am.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you're not alone. But a lot of people, we need to have some patience. And this is particularly a young offense. And, on defense, Riley Moss, like he might struggle at the beginning of the season. But if we're building something for the future here, his resilience will show through, and then he might end up being a very, very good corner because of all the action he gets this season. Might not be a Super Bowl season for the Broncos, but if he can establish himself as a solid corner opposite PS2, then next year, and the year after that, then he can play really good football and make this team a formidable team.
I'll be curious to see how he's graded. I mean, Pro Football Focus's grades, you can do what you want with them, but they grade each other. They grade every player kind of the same, whether you know exactly what their responsibility was. But I'll say this, Riley Moss wasn't getting torched. He was in pretty good position, all things considered.
Back shoulder throws.
Yeah. And, that one to Lockett obviously gets a tip on it, and Lockett makes a hell of a one-handed catch. But he didn't look lost.
No.
And unlike Damari Mathis, who had about as bad a debut as you could have on Monday Night Football a couple years ago, where he had the 4 PI calls for all the world to see, and he got a lot better the rest of that season. But I think Riley's debut, if you called it a solid C+, B-, like if he's going to call it that, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We've got maybe the best corner, if not maybe, I think the best corner in football on the other side.
And Riley had 12 tackles, which means he's in the action. They're going his way.
Yeah.
He's going to be targeted, right? So he's got to be ready to be involved that often because they're going away from PS2. And Riley's going to step up, and he's going to get better. He's absolutely going to get better. And from what I've heard, he's up for the challenge. He has that kind of temperament. So
you do not want cornerbacks being your leading tacklers at any level of football.
Absolutely not.
But good for him that he made 12.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to wrap with a Monday Night Football preview between the Jets and the 49ers. If you are a bettor, I have a few little statistics for you before you place your bets tonight. The 49ers over the last 24 years, this is stats in regards to the 49ers. This is the team I'm referring to first. Over the last 24 years, the Super Bowl loser is 5-19 against the spread in week 1 the following season. So a little Super Bowl hangover there. Kyle Shanahan is just 2-5 against the spread in week 1 as the head coach of the 49ers. The 49ers are 0-7 against the spread in their last 7 home games, 4-3 outright, all as the favorite, including the playoffs. And the 49ers games have gone under the total in week 1 in 9 of the last 10 seasons. So pretty low scoring games in week 1 for the 49ers. Now for the Jets. The Jets are 4-10 against the spread in their last 14 primetime games, 2-3 against the spread last season, lost their last 3 games. The Jets were 2-9 against the spread in their final 11 games last season. And in 3 seasons under Robert Saley, the Jets are 20-31 against the spread, tied for the second worst record in the NFL over that span. And finally, collectively for these two, primetime unders are 70-42-1 over the last 2 seasons, 35-23 last season. So do with that what you will. I don't know if you're tuning in and you enjoy betting. Hopefully those little tidbits help. Fellas, what do we predict is going to happen tonight against Jets and 49ers?
Well, the Niners are going to win the game, I think. I feel confident in saying that. It's a 4-point spread at last check seconds ago. If you're running through all those other stats. The Jets, last time they opened the season on Monday Night Football, 2 things happened. They lost their future Hall of Fame quarterback after 4 plays, but they won the game. They beat the Bills in overtime Monday Night Football a year ago. So now that game was in New York at MetLife. So I guess in Jersey, but they have that. They had Zach Wilson running the show there. They've got a good team. They've got a good roster, and everyone, including Nate, is ready to say Aaron Rodgers is going to get hurt because he's just getting older. But he's not hurt right now. He's not hurt today. And so a Bay Area kid played his college ball, played JUCO there. He's going home to the team of his childhood, just
he wanted to get drafted there, and he didn't. He grew up a 49er fan, just like Tom Brady did, obsessed with Joe Montana and the like I was. We're all kind of the same generation. I'll be interested to see because he has had limited time. He did go to Egypt instead of go to mini camp. He had a
documentary showing him talking football on a plane.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a new documentary coming out on Netflix like any day now.
Talking football.
He's like talking to somebody who somehow has worked with Tom Brady and Kobe, and he's got his leg up, but he's like going through plays on an iPad or something.
Okay.
So 49ers win.
I say 49ers win. Yeah, I do think
I think the 49ers should win, but I do like the Jets to cover 4.5.
Okay.
What's your fanship of the Niners these days?
What's my what?
Like if they're on, or are you going out of your way to try to find them on a Sunday if your schedule
allows it? I like watching the Niners
it?
just because I grew up watching them. All my friends are 49er fans.
Sure.
I played for the Niners, but the moment I stepped into the locker room there, my fandom died. These are now my peers. I got to fucking find a way to make this team. I got traded away from the Niners, came here and really found a home here that I didn't have playing for the Niners. But, Kyle Shanahan coaching the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey playing for the Niners,
John Lynch, your old
John
teammate.
Lynch, my old teammate, and so when we were out here,
Bobby
in the middle,
T's there.
Bobby T.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of connections there that keep me
Brian Greasy
interested. Yeah.
Quarterback
and I'm
coach.
still, close with Mike, and I hung out with him quite a bit last year. And like he's so still heavily invested in that team, and he's watching on his iPad meetings, and he's helping them with game plans and breaking down film, and he's just so involved and just to watch the pride he has in Kyle and everything they're doing there, I still feel close to the organization. So I'll be watching. And the Super Bowl last year was quite disappointing.
Yeah,
for
especially
many of us
Broncos fans.
Yeah, it's easy when they're playing the Chiefs. It's happened. Right. It's happened twice in the last 5-6 years, whatever it was. And the coaching staff changed a little, but a bunch of those guys are now with Mike McDaniel. But Mike McDaniel, Wes Welker, John Embry were all part of the staff when they lost to the Chiefs the first time in Miami in January or February, whatever it was, 2020. And so it's easy when it's a team you hate. And basically, the Broncos and Niners have had this kind of crossover forever because of Mike kind of originally and running all the stuff with Bill Walsh and you and Jerry Rice, maybe less Jerry Rice, but you and Mike coming over, and then obviously John Elway and John Lynch's friendship and sending Adam Peters up and build his team and all that. So it's easy to, if you love the Broncos and don't give a shit about any teams in the NFC, to kind of adopt the Niners as your NFC team, especially when they're playing against any AFC team, but certainly AFC West teams.
And wouldn't we love the Broncos to be able to build a team like the 49ers have, with weapons like they have? That would be awesome.
Would love it. Well, just for your guys' brains, I like the Jets to cover. I like Breece Hall anytime touchdown, and I do like the under. I do think it's a low-scoring affair, a lot of defense.
Or Christian anytime touchdowns that all the way down to like minus 180 now. So
which is actually good value compared to where it normally sits, because it's just such a
it was like in the 200s or 300s at one point when he was scoring every single week. It was like minus 325 to score.
Well, this has been another episode of Gorilla Sports Off Field. We will be back again Friday. For Friday's episode, you can expect some conversations about previewing the Broncos Steelers game, as well as previewing any other games we feel the need to talk about. So we'll take a little bit more of a betting angle on Friday and kind of give our predictions in
Do you
terms
want to
of
make
the
a quick
Broncos.
Bills Dolphins prediction? Bills are 1.5-point dogs in Miami Thursday night. Tyreek anytime touchdown -125 is your lowest odds.
I mean, I don't like that. I don't like making a prediction there because I just don't want to see. I don't like the Bills, so that's a head versus heart.
Von
battle
Miller's
for
on
me.
the Bills.
Huh?
Von Miller plays for the Bills.
I know.
He's played for the Broncos.
She knows, man.
I'd rather him be here.
Yeah.
I don't want him there. Okay, that's all. And we'll see you Friday. And remember, Friday's show has now changed to 11 a.m. We are not at 2 p.m. because we're working around the Broncos practice schedule. So make sure you're tuning in. We'll be live right here from the studio talking all things Denver, all things week 2. What can we expect? We're excited. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you Friday. See ya.
Bye.